In The Source tonight, it's the MAGA versus Musk war that is escalating tonight, as Elon Musk says that parts of that movement are contemptible fools, while his far-right critics claim he is censoring them on his own platform. Whose side is Donald Trump on? And we'll speak with a House Republican on that critical election for Mike Johnson that is now just days away. By this time next week, we could know if he remains as the House Speaker. And with the clock ticking for TikTok, I have new reporting that Trump just spoke with the company's CEO. The president-elect tonight is calling on the Supreme Court to pause the nationwide ban set to go into effect the day before he takes office. I'm Kaitlam Collins, and this is The Source. And tonight, that internal battle that's underway in Trump world that we laid out for you here last night is only escalating even further today. In his clash with the far right over immigration, Elon Musk is now going after the hardliners, the very heart of the MAGA base, labeling them just a few hours ago as, quote, contemptible fools who must be removed from the Republican Party, root and stem. Musk now finds himself pitted against the likes of Steve Bannon, however, Trump's former White House aide, who came out against Musk's push for H-1B visas, which allow highly skilled foreign workers into the U.S. and has long been the lifeblood of Silicon Valley.
H-1B visas? That's not what it's about. It's about taking American jobs and bringing over essentially what become indentured servants at lower wages. This thing's a scam by the oligarchs in Silicon Valley to basically take jobs from American citizens, give them to what become indentured servants from foreign countries, and then pay them less. Simple. To let them into through the golden door.
Now, Bannon's comments align him with people like the far-right activist Laura Loomer, who has been bashing Musk for days now on this and is even accusing him of censoring her on his own platform. She is the anti-immigrant Trump ally who is now claiming that her blue checkmark was removed, her subscriptions were deactivated, her character limits for tweets and posts on X were limited for what she says is, quote, raising concerns and speaking the truth about the technocratic takeover of our country in the White House. Now, that was after she posted racist messages like this, saying our country was built by white Europeans, actually, not third world invaders from India. More on what she is saying about why she lost those privileges on X in a moment with Donny O'Sullivan. But all of this began after Trump named Shriram Krishnan, a tech entrepreneur and investor who was born in India, as his senior policy advisor on artificial intelligence. He's not an immigration advisor for Trump, but this started this entire backlash. And it's culminated today with Elon Musk not backing off of his stance, despite the backlash that he is facing from the MAGA right. Instead, he's writing tonight, anyone of any race, creed, or nationality who came to America and worked like hell to contribute to this country will forever have my respect. Noticeably silent in all this infighting in his party, the president-elect himself. My political sources tonight are the former Deputy Assistant to President Biden, Jamal Simmons, Editor-in-Chief of The Dispatch, Jonah Goldberg, and CNN Senior Correspondent Donny O'Sullivan. And it's great to have you all here. Jonah, I'm sure you've been watching, just like I have, as all of this has been playing out, only getting worse today with really just seeing these people at each other's throats on lines. What does it say to you that Trump himself, who is the king of weighing in on things online, has not done so?
Because he doesn't have a good answer to this problem, right? He's got a very tight, small coalition as presidents go, and there's just not a lot of give in it. I mean, it's symbolized by the fact he's going to have, what, a 2-seat, maybe with this new defection, a 3-seat majority in the House. If you have 3 or 4 or 5 congresspeople who agree with Laura Loomer and Steve Bannon, then you can't get any legislation done that Elon Musk wants. And so he's stuck in this hard place where he hasn't quite yet figured out how to get peace amongst the various Trumpy tribes back together. And I don't think this is going to be the schism that tears apart MAGA, but it is the first sign of what is probably going to be a good number of schisms and fault lines that divide people who have irreconcilable positions.
Yeah, it is remarkable to see this because some people who have studied Elon Musk for a long time were saying that when this friendship was blossoming, that inevitably there are major differences between Trump's base and them on this issue. And Doni, just on how all of this started was with Trump's pick for an AI advisory role that's going to be sitting not in the West Wing but in the building next door. And this has caused such a huge issue where Laura Loomer, we'll get into that in a moment, but was accused of posting his address online and sharing documents like that, which is why some people said was the real reason she was taken away from those things on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, a big part of the reason that this advisor in question is being targeted is because he's not white. He's Indian. You can just go on to X and see the vitriol around this conversation. I mean, they try and say it's about visas and everything else, but really you do not need to scratch the surface too far just to see the level of racism and hate and just really ugly stuff that's happening on that platform. And that is in part, right, because a lot of the white supremacists and racists and others who had been suspended by Twitter for spreading hate under the previous ownership were all brought back onto the platform under Elon Musk. And so what you're having now is you have people who are also incentivized by the structure put in place in Musk to have these kind of viral posts where they pick on somebody essentially and try to get them to go viral.
And chief among them is Laura Loomer, who, for people who don't, she's not a household name. For people who don't know her, she has pushed conspiracies about 9/11, even though Trump took her to the 9/11 memorial with him. She was on his campaign plane. We saw her getting off of it with him earlier during the 2024 race, not that long ago. She is claiming Musk is censoring her. I heard from people who are opposed to her earlier today saying that's not what's happening here. What did happen with her account?
So, yeah, Loomer has about 1.5 million followers on X. She's a big voice in the MAGA world, right? As much as I think maybe a lot of establishment Republicans, even people who are close to Trump, would like to say that, she doesn't have influence. She does certainly in this space. What happened over the past 24 hours is she has a verified blue badge account, which I think to a lot of people just say, so what, it's a blue badge. But what that allows her to do on the platform under Musk is it allows two things. One, it allows her to get revenue from the ads that are shown next to her posts. So that's a way that Musk has set up the platform to try and monetize it, to try and encourage people to post more on the platform. And also she has paid subscribers on the platform. We don't know how much money she was making, but oftentimes that can go into the many, many thousands every month. So that has been taken away from her. We haven't heard from X, we haven't heard from Musk specifically, but Musk did call her out a few times during the week, essentially calling her a troll.
Yeah, I think he outright called her.
He did.
At one point. Undeniably, she is. I think that everyone, if you like her or dislike her, can agree on that. Jamal, we're going to ask a House Republican in a moment about his view on this and where this stands, as Jonah was referencing, whether anything can get done in Congress. We had Jared Polis, the Democratic governor of Colorado, on the program last night. He was agreeing with Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, and I heard from people after saying, that's not going to help Elon as he's making his case here, with Democrats agreeing with him.
Yeah, the problem on the Republican side right now, the MAGA Republicans, they've got three strains. The one strain is sort of the economically anxious, the people who kind of could go either way. They just want lower grocery prices, more affordable housing. They thought Trump might be the guy. You've got these ideologues like Laura Loomer who are sort of culturally anxious, right? They don't want an America that's going to become browner. They're trying to preserve kind of a white Christian heterosexual culture that they believe is the core American culture and ought to be the one that exists. Now, Laura Loomer ignores when she says Europeans built the country. She ignores the African slaves. She ignores the Chinese immigrants who did the railroad. She ignores the people from Mexican heritage in the Southwest who worked, and then Native Americans who were here first. She ignores everyone else who was in the country. So the problem is, they've got to figure out how to Trump has got to figure out how to hold these people together. I just don't know if it's possible. Because at the end of the day, the only way the country grows is if we do have more immigrants who come into the country who help populate and move the country forward, and that we make it more diverse, where we recruit and retain people from different backgrounds into these tech industries so that we can have an economy that can compete with everybody in the world.
Yeah, well, and Jonah, on that front, we heard from Loomer earlier today saying, still pushing her position. Obviously, as I read just a moment ago, Elon Musk is very much still advocating for his, despite the immense backlash he's been facing. But listen to what Loomer said about what she plans to do with her position on this earlier.
I'm going going to escalate it all the way up to President Trump. I'm going to take it to advisors, and I'm going to take it to people I know who have been appointed to cabinet positions. And I'm going to ask them, is this the type of America that we're going to be living in? Are these the campaign promises that were made to MAGA and the American people?
I mean, she does have a direct line to Trump, obviously. We've seen that. Trump has said he doesn't control her. But Elon Musk is someone who's basically living at Mar-a-Lago. And I think that is a real question of whether or not, as you were saying, maybe it's not the full rift, but it's the start of one, potentially, in this scenario.
For sure. I think it's one rift among a bunch that will probably come down the pike as we move forward. But look, I mean, it would take a heart of stone not to laugh at the situation that they've gotten themselves into. Trump, is this classic, what do I have to do to put you in this condo today kind of salesman. And he makes promises to the Musk faction, he makes promises to the Laura Loomer faction, and a bunch of other factions in between that cannot be reconciled with each other. And look, I'm much closer to Elon Musk on the policy issue here than I am, even remotely with Laura Loomer about any of this stuff. But one of the ironies of all this is that all of these people across the spectrum, they rode this populist tide in, claiming that establishment Republicans and conservative establishment and the old Reaganite crowd, the old National Review crowd, they don't know anything and all the answers are super easy and we know exactly what to do. And then it turns out they come in and it turns out this stuff is really complicated. H-1B program is complicated for how you reform it, how do you expand it, what do you do about chain migration? And the serious people were all pushed aside in favor of all of these populist yahoos from Steve Bannon on down. And now they're the dog that caught the car and they don't know how to do any of this policy because they haven't done any of the legwork on it.
Yeah, I mean, Donnie, with Elon Musk saying that he said these people are contemptible fools who need to be removed from the party. That's a pretty notable comment coming from him.
Yeah, and look, obviously a lot of people also pointing out, saying basically, dude, you just kind of joined the MAGA universe pretty recently. But look, I think...
What? Is he being entitled?
But, if I'm Musk, I'm less worried maybe about Laura Loomer than I am about who you showed earlier, Steve Bannon. Because, so much of the culture, so much of the MAGA universe flows downward from what Bannon says on that program every day. And he has, when I say it, an online army around him. He really does, of many MAGA influencers with many, many millions of followers. And, we've kind of heard this terms internal MAGA civil war go around a lot the past 24 hours, but that really seems to be what's playing out. And I will just say, Conservatives, Republicans have been very excited to have Musk running X for the last 2 years. This is the first time we're really seeing Musk going after people within his own camp, as it were.
Yeah, for people who think this isn't a real thing, this is the only thing that everyone that I've been talking to in Trump world is talking about right now.
No, that's absolutely right. Listen, the Democrats have got to figure something out here, too, because the Democrats are a more natural home for some of these working class voters who have been in unions with many African Americans and people of color. They've got to figure out how to make an argument that brings those people back to the fold so they can get their coalition back together. This coalition is like peanut butter and salmon lox. It doesn't work on the Republican side. It's just nasty.
Okay, that is a terrible visual. Thank you so much for that. Dodie, stick around. Everyone else, Jonah, Jamal, thank you both. Up next, there is a new request coming in from President-elect Trump to the Supreme Court. He doesn't want that TikTok ban to go into effect the day before he takes office. I have brand new reporting about a call Trump just had at Mar-a-Lago.